Okay, Chris from A Bevy of Bloods here with a special guest, head of the Rainbow Swans, number one ticket holder for the AFL Swans this year, 2023, and all-round guru and Swans fanatic, Sarina Jackon. Welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
You're more than welcome. Thank you so much for meeting, and especially at such a timely time.
It is.
Preparing for Pride Round this Thursday against St Kilda. So, Sarina, can I just kick off by asking you about yourself, about the Swans, the love of it? How did it all come together?
It's funny. My first team was Carlton, but that's only because I think it was 1987, and I can't remember. I could be wrong on the year, but I was taken to an AFL game, and I don't do, or traditionally don't like doing what everybody else does. And the other 40 people there were supporting Sydney. So no, there was a few more than 40, but so I became a Carlton supporter, and I had got a scarf that day and I wore it everywhere. But that was the end, because this is 1987 and there's no phone or app or anything, so you could only rely upon the very small snippet of AFL scores each week in the Monday paper.
Yeah, no doubt.
So I became not a Carlton fan and became a Swans fan, because you could get a little bit more about them and you could actually go to a game. And then in 1997 I moved to Melbourne, spent 10 years down there, and sort of became a lot more AFL passionate, because it is part of every day. Through the 90s, obviously 96 wasn't a great year, but through the 90s, Sydney became more known as an AFL team and a town. But certainly my absolute deep-rooted passion came in the early 2000s.
Brilliant. That's fantastic. What is it with the number one ticket holders? Yourself and Adam Spencer both started off as Carlton supporters.
I know, but I was probably for like 4 or 5 games.
Okay,
Let's not. They're not my second team now.
Okay.
They're nothing. I love it when we beat them. Yeah. There's nothing about Carlton that I like really that much anymore. Actually, I don't really like many teams, but that's okay. I'm very one-eyed. But yes, Adam did follow them for slightly longer than I did.
Mm-hmm. He did. We'll keep him to that. That's okay. So tell me your journey to become the number one ticket holder and, of course, the head of the Rainbow Swans. Tell us all about that initiative. It's such an exciting week, Pride Week, Pride Round in particular. So yeah, tell us all about that.
Well, Rainbow Swans date back to about 2003. So actually the LGBTIQ community with the Swans has gone back. There used to be a group called the Swan Tits that were like the Swanettes, but they were in drag. They dated, I think, late 80s, early 90s. There's certainly some photos floating around of them. So the support, obviously, from our community to the Swans is long standing. But in 2003, Rainbow Swans became sort of an unofficial group through Yahoo groups and email chat forums way back when.
Saying some age
that we are. Yeah. I wasn't a member at that time, but in I think it's 2015, I could be wrong, but 2015 we became an official supporter group of the Swans, and we incorporated and we sort of moved to membership, and then obviously we moved into the Pride Games, which started in 2016. We played Fremantle at Drummoyne Oval for a pre-season game, which they called a Pride Game, so the flags and the 50-metre arc. But it wasn't for points. So the first one was 2016. We've won all but one. So the one in Brisbane during lockdown, which we lost.
Okay.
The Rainbow Swans is a obviously an official supporter group of the club. I personally sit on the Diversity Action panel, so with the Diversity Action Plan, which has got the 4 pillars of multicultural women, disability and LGBTIQ+. So part of that was obviously the Pride Round, part of that was Mardi Gras, which we'll probably touch on, and the support for the community. And basically the message that everybody is welcome at the football, regardless of, and I go for, I'm definitely regardless of sexuality, gender, or any other way that you want to identify in that regard, but certainly also disability, race, religion. You take that whether you're a male, female, or so it's bigger than that, and I think that's what people lose about this is everybody's welcome. But yeah, the Swans have been amazing in their support for us.
That's brilliant. That's such a journey. It's
Yes.
such a long time, 20 odd years to
Yes.
get to where we are
Yep.
now, where I would go so far, and I'm sure you've got some feelings about it, where the Pride Round and the Swans support within the LGBTQI plus community seems to be quite solid. It's made up within the DNA of the club now, I would say.
Look, what other club would have me as their number one ticket holder? I suppose that's a fair statement for them to make. The second thing is they're not just that they stand by what they believe in, but they cross that in all different communities, not just ours. But the strength of their bond with our community is excellent. They were the first professional sporting club in the world to walk in Mardi Gras, and they've continued to do that every year. Albeit the LA Rams joined them this year, which was a bit of fun, a bit more sparkle, and their commitment to the community is steadfast. And obviously now there's the AFLW program, which has also got quite a good LGBTIQ representation in the team. It's ongoing.
Yeah, and the Swans being the first, and you made clear, the only team in the AFL so far to walk in the Mardi Gras.
Yes.
As it stands at the moment.
Absolutely. There's been no other. I think the NRL, there's been no club. I could be wrong. I know that the Adelaide Crows supporter group, so Rainbow Crows, have come up and marched several times, but there's been no other team. So, and there have been... like the Newtown Breakaways, they've marched, but and I think a few university teams, but not of AFL. No level. AFL team.
Now that's got to be an enormous jump up to giving the exposure for the community by getting the Swans in. And
it's remarkable. I've marched in a few with the team and the supporters and the reception that they get, whether it's been in the SCG, which we did a few times through lockdown and through the pandemic, to up again this year walking back up Oxford Street. It's been pretty cool, and it's a warm fuzzy feeling to be honest, to do it. You miss out the rest of the parade because you don't get to see it all, because we always get a great reception, and it's really good for people in the area as well to know that the SCG is in the middle of the heartland, and that there is a safe space for people to go and watch sport. That's and right. AFL's bloody good sport to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. The best sport to watch.
I think it is.
It is, absolutely is. Now, to touch on that point, a safe place for everyone to watch sports. Now, there are parts of the community. That, of course, change happens gradually. There's nothing that changes overnight. And I think this inclusion of Pride Round in the AFL community is part of that, and like any other change in society. There is the odd comment, and it's less so nowadays, definitely I've noticed, but definitely is out there frequently, where politics does not belong in sport. Now, how do you feel about that?
No one can actually tell me why.
Sure.
It shouldn't belong in sport. Why when you've got we're not talking about, this is the funny thing, we're not talking about and by the way, the players and the coaching staff of the Swans are very supportive of us and all the things that the Swans do for the community. But the Swans are not taking anything away from the coaching program. There is a full coaching program in place to coach and play good football for both men and women. Then they've got in their budget a completely other section of community engagement, community work, people that actually's job it is to lead and be community leaders in projects, whether it be in the gay community or the disability section or what we're just talking about. And don't forget, the Swans were the first club to do a recognition action plan, so the RAP, right, which then turned into, which Marn Grook and then turned into the whole round. And most other teams now have a RAP, and they followed the Swans' lead on that.
Perfect.
So why it's not politics. I mean, being supportive of Indigenous rights, having a say about the voice to Parliament, having, coming out and saying yes, supporting the gay marriage plebiscite, supporting refugees, support. Why? That's not politics. It's just human. It's just good human decency. Yeah. It's treating everyone equally. And so everyone says to me, politics should stay out of football. There's not politics. We're not talking about strikes. We're not talking about wage rises. We're not talking about Liberal, Labor, Greens, independents. That's politics. This is just life. And this is everyone having a fair crack. And I think that a sporting platform is a perfect platform where you've got people that are passionate about it from all walks of life. You're not talking about a centralised, local football club that would probably be sometimes they're ethnic. So there's a lot of the same. When you've got a club like the Swans, you've got so many different people involved, and you've got a platform to touch so many people. So
perfect.
Have not yet had anyone say to me a good reason why it shouldn't be.
It's very compelling, and look, just
slightly passionate.
Very passionate, and I totally agree with you. And my position on it, just from a personal perspective, is you nailed it. At the end of the day, we're talking about the supporters that turn up to the game and giving them a safe, inclusive space that they can be who they are. And why not enjoy that and why not enjoy that together as a community? So politics doesn't come into it at all. It's what the club wants to do, and it's supporting their own people.
But it's also, to me, it's not politics, but nor should it be politics. It's just, again, it's human decency, it's equality, and it's just treating everyone the same and with due respect. And that's what the Swans do incredibly well.
Yeah, perfect. Now, touch on the Swans then. There's other clubs, as you mentioned, the Rainbow Crows.
Yep.
Saints, of course, have their setup and have always been a part of Pride Round. What's going on with the other clubs? Are they getting themselves involved, organised?
Yep.
What's the number base there?
So, and I think I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure every club now has a supporter group. Not all official, so not all clubs have official supporter groups as an LGBTI plus group, but some do, and there's a lot of movement, and it's growing. And at the Gather Round, there was a meeting of all the Pride groups, so it was getting a bit more movement prior to COVID, and then obviously COVID sort of killed a lot of stuff, and now it's getting back on its legs again. So we are hoping that one day there will be a Pride Round. I'm sure that will bring a lot more vitriol and just the Pride game from many clubs. The AFL seemed to jump on the bandwagon, and I use bandwagon very quickly with the AFLW, but they didn't with the men's, and they're reluctant to do it, saying that there's too many rounds. But given the success and the love the Pride game brings, I think it would be a great thing to do as a round.
Yeah, absolutely. And definitely so iconic for Sydney. Sydney being the gay capital of Australia, gay capital of the world for that matter. Definitely from the Southern Hemisphere, you'd start there, and arguably you'd make a good case to say it's probably the more open in the world. And last year having World Pride in the city, which would have been superb. The month of February
this year was just unbelievable, and the Sydney was buzzing, and it's Pride Month again now around the world. So, everywhere you look, sports teams and businesses are moving towards that, and it is a natural progression. It will happen one day. We'll keep singing the song in the hope that it will happen. But it's everyone says, well, why do we have a Pride Round?
Absolutely.
And I think that was one of your questions.
It was going to be, but I'm glad you jumped in now.
I'll jump in there. So there's two reasons. A, it's a celebration of and making everybody feel welcome. And then it's also, we need it because of the opposition to it. So when we can put something up and say we're doing this, and there's not on social media and websites and everywhere else, there's not the vitriol and the hatred that comes out about it afterwards. So when that stops, we don't need it anymore. We've won the battle. Yeah. But we're in 2023 and we still have it, and therefore we still need to do it.
That's right.
And it's education as well as celebration.
Yeah, a lot of movement has happened in terms of LGBTI plus community in order to advance their standing in society and everything, and be very accepting of them. I mean, gay marriage was only legalized a couple of years ago, right? And that was to very, in quotations, controversial stands by certain parts of
I mean, there was still a massive no campaign for that. I mean, it's
the basis of why you care who anyone
started
works
about
with
that either, but you know, it's also about you know, it's a really sad topic of conversation, but youth suicide against youth suicide in gay and trans or LGBTIQ plus youth is you know, significantly higher than that in the wider community, and there's a specific reason for that, is the trouble that they feel in not having acceptance and not being welcome. So any leadership that can be shown by anyone in that regard, and guaranteed, absolutely, I can say hand on heart that the Pride game will save lives this year. There will be a kid or someone who comes to the football or sees it or does something and go, oh, I'm normal, and saves their life. And you know, I remember was the first Pride round, and a father came up to me and he said, I've got a young trans boy who's 14 and was just looking at transitioning and trying to come to terms with himself, and we put him in the Guard of Honour, and we got a conversation afterwards saying that saved my son's life, thank you, and that kind of thing, which, you know, so it's not just about that, it's about, you know, so why do we have one? It's to celebrate. Even when we don't need to, we'll continue doing it because it's so worthy, but it does save lives.
Absolutely, you said it perfectly. I think there is no real opposition to why we do it. Really, there's a lot.
It's just crazy.
Only benefits to doing it for improving our society and our community generally. I think any other take on that, I think it's just probably not a take of realism, or perhaps has not been exposure to some of the plights that have been unfortunately.
I mean, there's
towards Pride round.
Look, people say to me all the time, "Oh, well, you know, why can't I come and have a religious round, or because religion is traditionally the opposition to same-sex relationships or you know, issues in that area," and I don't have. I don't just stop anyone from believing in anything that they want to believe in, and respect everyone, and everyone should be able to do that. But it's just that respect. It's just, you know, so yes.
Yeah, well,
it's very tiring.
Well, religion is also protected.
Yes,
by laws and constitutions and everything in between. And you know a lot more given your law degree than I would. But Pride and LGBTI plus community, not necessarily. It's only been some recent times where even just asking was not allowed, or it's irrelevant to, you know, change someone affect someone in their place of work or in any social setting on that basis. It's been protected now.
Yes. So it's I mean, again, we've come a long way, but we've still got, and I sit there looking at all the comments and feedback that you get, and you just go, we've just got so far to go, and that's just, don't forget, that's just to get to even peggings. It's not, we don't want more, we don't be nice, but we just want to be treated like everybody else. And welcome at the football.
Be accepted for who you are. Now, on that basis, AFLW is not Pride round, but the AFLW has really, from my eyes, from the outside probably looking in, been an enormous jump into Pride round, given that the AFLW do have many openly gay and lesbian players within the teams. How has that impacted yourself and Rainbow Swans, and just given maybe more oomph to the team and the club and the movement generally?
Look, I've absolutely loved AFLW. Obviously, Adelaide were my female team until last year when we had our team, because you have to follow someone, and I really like what Adelaide do and the support for the community there. So I felt like that was a great movement. But it is. I mean, even last night we were just talking. We had a function at the club, and we were talking to James Rowbottom and Justin and Lizard about the impact that the women have coming in, and it just feels whole. So, and there's no. I mean, sexuality in the women's team is not an issue. There's quite a lot of out players. There's quite a lot of players who aren't out but just want to live and play football. There's quite a lot of straight players. It doesn't matter, which will end up being the case in the men's side. It's just a generational thing, and I genuinely believe that in the next 5, 6, 7, 8 years, we will see just a crop of boys come through the academy who are just out and have lived their way that whole time and will be drafted as that, and it will not be the coming out that everyone thinks it's going to be. But and so I think that, but the advent of the women's competition has just shown that it is just normal. It's just more about football than it is about anything else. But that you can walk the red carpet with your wife, or your wife can have a child, or you can, and just as you could walk the red carpet with your husband. Doesn't matter. No. It's about football at the end of the day, right?
We're here to play footy.
We're here to play footy, but celebrate it along the way.
That's right. We play footy and celebrate our community along the way. Okay, on that basis then, so you touched on the AFL men's. There is no openly gay AFL men's players out there at the moment. Statistics tells us there's quite a lot in football right now as we stand. If
you listen to Gillon McLaughlin, he says he knows of some. He recently said, I know of some, but they're not ready to come out yet. Fine. They don't need to. And I probably, look, if I was I think it would be incredibly difficult to do that. But if you look at someone like Josh Cavallo, who plays down at Adelaide in the A-League, in the soccer, football.
That's right. First openly professional men's sports.
In the world.
Yep.
And then the basketballer. But Josh Cavallo is now, I mean, I'm just using him as an example, but he's now a Ralph Lauren model and travels the world as such a high-profile individual. So it's not worked badly out for him, has it? So
there may be something to it.
I know. And he actually spoke to the team last year before the Pride round. So I think that the expectations and the weight that would be for that would be very difficult. But I reckon the players in any of the teams would just be so. Because they probably know anyway. Right. It's you live and breathe and travel with these people. If you don't know, then or they're hiding it very well. But I don't reckon it would be. I reckon they'd have the full support. I know I've spoken with Tom Harley about this, and we sort of say, well, it would just be business as usual for us. I think where it would come from would be the crowd. If this day and age we're still throwing racial abuse at players, which I just still can't get my head around and fathom.
How?
I know. 2023, then there would be homophobic abuse hurled at a player on the field. But and I don't think that's. I mean, it's a big weight for someone, but again, it'll happen. It'll just be that someone will just be, and it'll just. So it's like when my daughter identifies as gay. She spoke to the AFLW players at the beginning of before the Pride round last year, and for her to just have such an open environment to grow up in. So if she ever made it to a list, it's just going to be the same sort of thing with a boy. If they're just going to be, the 12, 13, 14, 15-year-olds at the moment all know and are safe to be who they want to be, they're not going to suddenly go, I'm not, just because I want to play AFL.
Yeah, like hiding it anyway.
It's not how it's going to work. So I think that will be where we grow. But so the next generation of AFL players will be probably similar to, probably not in the same numbers as AFLW, but they'll be there.
It's interesting you say all of that, because my angle, and I think you've nailed it when you suggest that it most likely would be someone who's been openly gay for some time in sports and just so happen to be, picked up by a team and lives their life as a gay footballer, and it turns out no one cared anyway. It's less likely to perhaps be an existing player unless they come out when it's past the game, when they've since left the game. And
that wouldn't surprise me. Ian Roberts did that in NRL. Oh God, in the 90s. I'm trying to think of when he retired, and he played when I was a kid. But I mean, it's just should not be a big deal. It should just be congratulations. That's awesome. I'm glad you feel good about yourself. Move on. nothing to see. It's almost nothing to see here, but we know in reality that's not what's going to happen. We know that there's going to be a circus, and that's and that's the unfortunate part about it. But not if it just happens.
Not if it just happens. And I think at the end of the day, definitely from my standpoint, and I dare say, and you may be closer to this than I am, but I dare say that the majority of people are already accepting of the society. Yep. They're perfectly fine. It's that minority of really loud people, that loud and obnoxious people that are causing most of the noise.
Yes.
Would that be fair?
Yeah, I would tend to absolutely agree with that. The majority of the community, I mean, A, we saw that in the plebiscite, but B, most people, it is 2023, and it is most people do just move on, unless there is strong religious beliefs or something like that holds them to a different standard around that. Most people it's just par for the course. But unfortunately, like with most things, there's a lot of loud noise from the hatred group, and you know, they go away. You know, as far as I'm concerned, we don't need you as a supporter. If you don't like this and you don't like that and there's everything else, you're not. We don't want you. Like it's don't let the door hit you on the way out. Is my it's hand in you. Exactly. And they don't. They're just loud. And they're just obnoxious and rude and often from behind a veil of anonymity, or I can never say that right, secrecy or a false persona. Yeah. Because in the everyday, they're probably not going to say that to their neighbour, or they're not going to say that to the person down the road. So the computers and social media and all of those things allows a platform for people to do that.
So I think if for the people that are listening in right now, and in particular, there'd probably be a lot of LGBTQI plus AFL members. I'd be wanting to hear from yourself, and perhaps from myself as a cis male. Society is designed for me, for the most part.
It is.
Okay, let's suggest that as a young man, youngish man. Let's go with that.
We'll both pretend we're young. It's okay.
Yeah, I've got grey hair, so let's not talk about it. It's really It's really something that only a minority of people are making a lot of noise about, and the majority of the community in the AFL community and beyond are accepting of your lifestyle and want to celebrate you. And you won't hear the complaints from them. And I think that's something they should really take on. The entire Swans community is behind you. So when you do turn up to Pride Round on Thursday, or if you can't make it, just remember that this round is for you. It's designed by a lot of people who very much love the community and want to give as much as they can to make sure that your sector society is open and welcomed on. I think that'd be something you need to point out. And
I thank you. I think it's a great thing, and I think for all the people that want to send some sort of, or just be supportive, it's just to drown out the noise. It's if you point out, and you usually, it's often that people say something it's stupid, like, oh, there's a drag show at 3/4 time, don't take your children because they're grooming pedophiles. I mean, like, it's just nonsensical.
It's so ridiculous.
So it's almost just, well, how does that work? It's really also just pointing out the stupidity of a lot of comments, and just supporting and cheering for the Swans in their support for the community, and saying congratulations, well done. Because it is, like I said again, it makes a lot of people happy, and it saves a lot of lives, and it makes a lot of people feel welcome that they've never felt before.
Yep, exactly. In many other ways. Yep. So for the Swans fan out there, or non-Swans fan out, I'm hoping that some general AFL fans are listening in to us. For any of them that potentially are wanting to support the movement, wanting to give as much as they can, but also feel sheepish or perhaps concerned that if they're perhaps too loud, they might be knocked down by the hammer. How can they support the movement? How can they support the AFL Pride Round generally?
Well, I think it's just that. It's being louder than the what I call the bullies or the noise, and pointing out that usually if they say a stupid comment, it's just pointing out, well, how does that work? And they usually shut up and go away, or disappear. it's just about being supportive, saying welcome. You know, if there's someone, because there will be people that have never been, that turn up on Thursday that have never been to an AFL game of football, but they're there because
amazing.
Yeah, but they're there because they've been invited or they feel welcome. So it's just about, if you see someone who's not quite sure what to do, or they've got a question about it, answer the question. Like, let people fall in love with football in a welcome environment that's supportive.
You know what's better than watching the Swans? Watching the Swans with many, many fans.
Yes, it's so good.
That's the best.
And then watching them win with many, many fans.
Watching them win with many fans. That's right.
We've been through so many losses, but there's so many wins as well. And I think now we're probably on the winning side of my tenure in my life. So I think we're now venturing into I've seen more wins than losses. I don't know. I should probably do the stats, but and it's just about that. But it's also about if you see. The Swans have a relationship with Down Syndrome New South Wales, so there's we often quite have partnership events there. So it's about seeing anyone. Welcome to the footy. Who's going to win today? Just having a conversation. It's about normalcy. It's about I can do this and I can have my passion and be me with fellow Swans fans. That to me is the most important thing.
That's beautiful. Well, I'm not going to wrap it up any more than that. Yeah. I think that's perfect.
That's good. Go Swans. Just
up to
win.
Swannies. Look, thank you so much for your time
No problem.
today.
Thanks
much
for having
appreciated.
me.
If someone out there wants to get involved in the Rainbow Swans, how can they do that?
Rainbowswans.org. So we're on Facebook, Instagram, rainbowswans.org on the website, and there's probably links through from the Swans website as well through to us. I think you go to members and supporters, and we're there with the cheer squad and Lass, which is the ladies of the Sydney Swans. But we'd love. Yeah, feel free to come along. We watch away games together at the pub. We usually have a function before or after. This Thursday night we've got a function after at the RHI where we've got a drag king performer coming in. So and some giveaways. So it'll be a fun night, and hopefully we're celebrating a win, which would be great in Buddy's 350th. Strange fact: the Pride game for he played in his 300th in a Pride game. We smashed St Kilda. There was also Heath, Nick, and
McVeigh
and Kieran Jack's last game.
Yep,
so fingers crossed we do what we did in the 300th to the 350th. So good on Buddy, and he just seemed to have been great supporters of our community and the Rainbow Swans. So congratulations, Tim.
Perfect, awesome. Thanks, Sarina. Appreciate your time.